So what is your name?
My name's Arthur Blumer. I graduated from Etna High School on June the 2nd of 1943. Inducted to the Navy 7 days later, June the 9th of 1943. I was on board. From there I went to boot camp, put 8 weeks in boot camp, and then come back on a week's leave. Then I was sent to Massachusetts, at the Fargo building in Massachusetts. I was supposed to go to the USS Emmons, put me in the Fargo building in Massachusetts, and finally the ship went down to Norfolk. So they put me on a train, sent me down to Norfolk. I got to Norfolk and the ship pulled out and went to Boston, so I had to turn around and come back. I got on board ship on August the 12th of 1943, and I went to Revere Beach with Paul Bloom and Harry Bauer. Both of them were killed when the ship was sunk. And it was my 18th birthday. We celebrated at Revere Beach. Revere Beach isn't even there anymore. So anyhow, on the destroyer we did a lot of training for shooting training films and one thing or another, and we got on board. We escorted the vessels over cargo ships and that. There's carriers, cruisers, and everything else. You know, we escorted all them. So I was on board ship for the invasion of Normandy. Well, before we got there, though, I went to Algiers, and then in fact, when I was up in Argentina and Newfoundland, that was my first trip on board ship. I got a telegram telling me that my baby brother was born. So there's 18 years difference between us. And from there, we went to a lot. We went to Algiers, we went to Toronto, Italy, Palermo, Sicily, Gibraltar. I didn't get ashore in all these places. And in fact, we were down to the Azores and pulled out of there to escort the USS Iowa. The 3 destroyers came from our country to where we took over for them, and they went back to the States, and we escorted the Iowa over to Gibraltar. And we didn't know it, but Roosevelt was on board ship at that time. And they put an elevator in so he could get up and get around there. And he went to meet with Churchill, Stalin, and him, Yalta, I think it was. And we loafed around in the Mediterranean there for a while. And then we were down to Freetown, Africa, Dakar, Africa, and that's where he finally came back from there. Put him on the Iowa, and we escorted the Iowa back to where the ships from the States came, and they took over, and we didn't have to do anything after that. So anyhow, we were in Ireland, Wales, and Plymouth, England. That's before the invasion of Normandy. We were there, the invasion of Normandy, and I was down in the lower handling room passing the ammunition up to them and that. And while we were at Normandy, there was a cathedral there, and these Germans used that cathedral to tell them where they wanted to fire on our men, and they asked for our help, so we fired on that cathedral, blew it out of it. In fact, the thing was rebuilt later on after the war was over. They rebuilt that cathedral, but we eliminated what they were doing there. Then from there we went into Cherbourg with the Texas and the cruiser. Can't remember the name right now, but anyhow, we were at Cherbourg there, and they opened fire on our ships in there, and we laid down a smoke screen, you know, to kind of cover them off so they couldn't see what they're firing at. And we saved their butt that day. And then they had guts enough to complain because we didn't come up with with dress blues on. We just couldn't dungaree. And I thought, boy, we saved your butts, and then you're doing something like it. So then from there we went down to the invasion of southern France, Marseille and Toulon. And there was 5 destroyers there. And they told us, that we went in there, because we were going to have 108s and 105s and that firing on us. And they thought if one of the destroyers survived, we'd be lucky. And so they gave us steak and eggs the night before the invasion. And you think, well, what's your last meal? You know? So anyhow, what happened, the Germans just pulled out. They left so fast they didn't even take the warnings about the landmines and that. They left so fast. So we were swimming the next day off the sport ship down in France. And then from there we come back to the States, and we took one of our 5. We had 4 5-inch mounts on our destroyer, and they took the last one off and put a 10-ton magnetic mine reel on that thing. So they made us a destroyer minesweeper from there. We went down through Norfolk and went through the Panama Canal, went through the canal down there. We got over to Hawaii. From Hawaii, they went to Ulithi. From Ulithi, we went to, at the Wetuck, and then from the Wetuck to Ulithi. And that's where the troop all gathered for the invasion of Okinawa. We invaded Okinawa on Easter Sunday, April the 1st. We were sunk 6 days later by 5 suicide planes. We shot down 6 planes, and 5 crashed in the water just trying to get us. So we were credited with 15 of this plane. But before it ever started, I was up on the bridge, and they said that there was bogies coming in. There was only 2 planes. And we seen the first one come down, hit the Robin, and it exploded. Second went down, he dropped a bomb, and he was so far off, no wonder they had a suicide, because they couldn't hit them. And he turned and came to us, and we opened fire on him. I don't know whether he left or what, but anyhow. They said 350 planes down that day, and we were at the northern tip of Okinawa after they invaded down below. They wanted to start another landing up there. And so we were at the northern tip, the Rodman and the Emmons, and we were with 5 little auxiliary minesweepers. They were doing sweeping the mines. And the Japs planes come down. There was 350 of them sent from Japan. And us being at the northern tip, we were the first thing they spotted, you know. So anyhow, we were standing on the bridge counter. Our pilots shot down at least 50. We would count 50 Jap planes that were shot down before they ever got to us. And by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they were finally getting through it to us and that. And I'll never forget, I was on a 40 millimeter, that was my general quarters station. I would pass up the ammunition. He would put it in the 40 millimeter and they would fire. And this Jap plane was coming in, and our pilot was right on his tail. And we're throwing everything at that Jap, so he was taking the same chance as that Jap was of getting hit, because we're throwing everything. And finally he couldn't do anything. He took off and left go. And that was one that landed over top of us and hit the water. He didn't crash. But one of them come in, and we hit him with a 5-inch shell, and he just exploded. So anyhow, that 10-ton magnetic mine reel was on the back. The Jap hit right into that fantail. My buddy Paul Bloom from Sharpsburg, PA, he was killed because he was in steering aft is where he was. And that 10-ton magnetic mine reel went up in the air like a piece of paper. The flagpole got blown out across my leg and broke my leg. And I'm walking around. I was walking around for 5 days with a broken leg. And finally they called me down to sick bay to get a cast put on. They said, "Don't stand on that." I said, "Well, hell, I've been walking on it for 5 days." So anyhow, they put a cast on me, and we got... in fact, we were sunk April 6th of 45. On April the 14th of 45, President Roosevelt passed away. I was on the ship coming home when I found out about that. And while I was in that water, and as a survivor, all I could think about, I'm going home and get married. So I graduated June 2nd of 43 and got married June the 2nd of 45. So we've had 65 years of marriage, we've raised 7 kids, and we've had a good life. And been to, well, we started coming to reunions in 1972, and I only missed one. Last year was the first one I missed since then. So this is it. I'm 86 years old. I don't know how much longer we're going to be around, but we had a great life, and I have nothing to complain about. And I see we go up to the Vets Hospital on Wednesdays, every Wednesday. And I was with some barbershops, and we would sing and them and that, you know. And I'm a whistler, so they always introduced me as Whistler's mother's father. And I whistle them 3 tunes every Wednesday from 10 to 11. And then we have lunch and come home. So that's about the size of it. I don't know. We raised 7 children. They're all, one's in Huntsville, Alabama, and the other one's in Columbus, Ohio, and the other 5 are around our house, but they're all close to home. Other than that, so we have a good life. We have nothing to complain about. We want to get up to the Vets Hospital and places like that. And I see these people. I'm 85, and I'm not in any pain, so I have nothing to complain about. My legs, I had polio. After we got married in 45, I come down with polio in 1950, and I've been handicapped ever since. But now that I'm getting older, my legs are weak, and it was a real struggle, just this reunion here, even trying to get on the bus yesterday and get off the bus. But I have nothing to complain about. You know, we have so much to be thankful for, so that's all I've got to say.
Just one question. What does it mean to you to come to these reunions? What do you...
Well, now that I'm 86, the way I struggled this way, I'm wondering what I'm here for, you know, because I'm getting too old to be doing these kind of things. You keep thinking of things that you wished you wouldn't have done because you're getting too old. Everything's a struggle for me now, you know. And it was a real struggle to go yesterday, to eat lunch and everything we did. Everything I'm doing here is a struggle for me. So I just keep looking at how well off I am at that, you know, that I have nothing to complain about. I do the best I can, and that's it.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Right.